Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about news coming from the Bangladesh, where a well-known think tank from Bangladesh has declared that the Arakan Army, with which the Muhammad Yunus-led government is trying to build a connection, a linkage, is not a reliable partner. It is an unreliable partner for Bangladesh looking at the history. So let us try to understand what exactly this think tank has said. Now, first of all, the think tank is called as Bangladesh Institute of Peace and Peace and Security, and it has stated that the Arakan Army has been characterized as an unreliable partner as such. Now, we know that a few weeks back, Muhammad Yunus-led interim government of Bangladesh has made a clandestine, a secret kind of arrangement, which largely is believed to be supported by the United States government, that they want to support Arakan Army. Arakan Army is a kind of rebel faction, rebel military group that is operating in the Arakan region of the Myanmar. So the main reason behind this clandestine arrangement is to support Arakan Army in the military offensive against the Myanmarese military junta as such. And here it is believed that Bangladesh is supporting Arakan Army. Now, Arakan Army is not recognized as a sovereign actor. That is why BIPSS has said, and that is why it is an unreliable partner. Plus, also, if you look at the ties of the Arakan Army, they have enjoyed historical ties with Chinese-backed militia, for example, United Wa State Army as such. So that is why many times it is in many of the agencies and many of the what you can call as the think tank has said that in future, if Bangladesh goes ahead and build a strong relation with the Arakan Army, it can again this will have problem that it can face in ensuring its security and sovereignty as such. Now, let us try to understand first of all the geographical area with which we are talking about. So, if you look at the map of the South Asia, here you have the Myanmar with the capital in the Naypyidaw, and in the coastal region of Myanmar, you have a state of Myanmar referred as the Rakhine state. Now, Rakhine state is having border with a region of Bangladesh here. You can see this is the Bangladesh, the orange line here, the orange area that you see on the map here is the Cox Bazar region of the Bangladesh. So, it is to the Cox Bazar region of Bangladesh, it is linked with the Rakhine state of Myanmar, and further as you go in the north, you have the northeastern state of India such as Manipur, and then further you have the Mizoram, which also shares border with the Myanmar as such. So basically the reason why Myanmar is what you can call as the Bangladeshi government has signed an agreement with the Arakan Army is to develop an aid corridor. Now this entire relationship is what you believe to the brainchild of the recently deputed or appointed National Security Advisor of Bangladesh called as Khalilur Rahman. So he believes that after having a linkage and tying up with the Arakan Army, Bangladesh then can, as a part of strategy, identify and use an aid corridor. Now, what is the objective of this aid corridor? The objective is that about 80,000 Rohingyas who are living in Bangladesh as a temporary refugee who has to flee Myanmar because of the ethnic persecution, they can be repatriated and returned back to the Rakhine state from which they originally belong. And this can only be possible if Arakan Army is able to gain some kind of military success in the Rakhine state, and if they are able to gain a complete control of the Rakhine state and they are able to snatch become control from the Myanmarese military junta, then it can be used as a channel for the return of Rohingyas to their homes as such. Because if you talk about currently, the 80,000 Rohingyas are believed to be influencing the Bangladesh's politics, and also they are putting undue pressure on the economic resources of the Bangladesh, the food resources of Bangladesh, and Bangladesh being in what you can call as a decrepit state as far as the economic state is concerned, obviously they do not want to have an additional burden on their economy. So again, if you talk about, this is the red area, that is the Mongdo region, which is connected to the Bangladesh as such, and this is your entire Rakhine state as such. Now, if you talk about the concerns that has been raised by the BIPSS, it has clearly stated that even if the humanitarian corridor is established between the Rakhine state of Myanmar and the Cox Bazar of Bangladesh, this corridor will lack any kind of international legitimacy under the international law. And the reason is because Myanmar's military is not part of this aid corridor, is not part of the negotiation for creating this aid corridor. And if Myanmar's military itself, which is currently what you can call as the head of Myanmar's government, if that government itself is not part of this aid corridor, then it will be kind of illegitimate corridor. And this also you can understand from the region. If suppose aid corridor or refugee corridor has to be created, it has to be agreed upon by all the parties that are involved there, including the offensive party and the defensive parties. So Myanmar's military is not involved there. So tomorrow they can bomb this area, tomorrow they can drop and carry out aerial strike on this area. So that is why such corridors cannot be considered as legitimate corridor as such. Second, there is also serious legal and diplomatic concern with the strengthening of relationship between Arakan Army and the Bangladeshi government. And the point has been raised about the unauthorized incursion. If you talk about the Bangladeshi territory, they have claimed that many times the Arakan army leaders, ARSA leaders, and other Jin army faction leaders, they have entered into the Bangladeshi territory in an unauthorized manner. They also have engaged in what you can call as the cultural engagement in Bangladesh, and that heightens the risk of cross-border instability and challenges the national sovereignty. Because if people are today coming without any kind of proper authorization, it means it will pave the way for entry of other illegitimate people, other illegitimate criminals, we can say, and that has been the stance of this particular think tank. Now, similar kind of concern is being echoed by currently the largest political party of Bangladesh, because you know that Bangladesh traditionally had two main parties. One was the Awami League that was led by Sheikh Hasina, but she was ousted from power and she has to take political asylum in India. And after that, currently, the Bangladeshi Nationalist Party, that is called as BNP, led by Khalida Zia, is the major political party there. So this Khalida Zia's led party also has voiced similar concern about the strengthening of relation between Muhammad Yunus led government and the Arakan Army. It has clearly stated that what is being observed is Muhammad Yunus is seen to have an obdurate stand on getting involved in the Rakhine Myanmar military mess. Now, again, to give you a brief background of this entire issue, Rakhine state, as we have discussed, is largely you have the Arakan group that resides, and they have made a military group that is called as the Arakan Army. While the majority part of Myanmar on the eastern side we talk about, it is largely controlled by the Myanmar's military, who has carried out a coup few years back, and it has then removed and dethroned the Aung San Suu Kyi led government. Since then, there has been a lot of rebel factions operating in different part of the Myanmar, and they are fighting with the Myanmar's military as such. So this is one such fight that is going on in the border areas of Rakhine, which shares border with Bangladesh. So what BNP is saying that Yunus administration seem to be obdurate and insisting upon the involving in the Rakhine Myanmar military mess, which they claim is largely nothing but orchestrated by the Western power, especially the United States. And BNP has claimed that Muhammad Yunus is doing the bidding of United States and the US military, because US is using the Bangladesh to and using the Arakan army in that manner to undertake a proxy war. And what is the objective of this proxy war? The objective, as stated, is to dislodge the military junta forces from the three key townships of the Rakhine state. These are the Sitwe, which is also a major port along the coast of Rakhine. It was a Sitwe port through which India also wanted to transit goods through the Myanmar, and then from the Myanmar in the region of this Mizoram. So Sitwe, then you have Kyaukpyu and the Manong. These are the three townships that Arakan army want to control. Largely this is getting the backing of the US as well, and this is where Bangladesh can play a key role, because through the Bangladesh region, the supply and logistic corridor can be created, which can be used to supply weapons, arms, ammunitions to the Arakan army as such. So these are the part of the Rakhine state as such. So this is what BNP has stated, that the Bangladeshi government led by Muhammad Yunus is not working and what you can say, taking actions and decisions in the interest of Bangladeshi people. Rather, they are taking action and decision based on the pressure from the United States. Now, we have discussed about Arakan Army. So, Arakan Army currently is led by Tuan Marat 9, and Arakan Army basically is a military wing of the ethnic Rakhine community. Now, as we have told you that Rakhine state is where you have the ethnic community, Rakhine, then there are so many communities in Myanmar. It is a multi-ethnic group, multi-ethnic country as such. Rebel group recruited some of its first fighter among the men that used to work as a miner. Jade is a precious stone that is mined in the Rakhine state. Army shot shelter with the Kachin Independence Army in the northern Myanmar. In 2019, however, after coming of the civilian government, democratic elected government in Myanmar, they signed a ceasefire. But as we know that in year 2022, the military involved in a coup d'etat. It removed Aung San Suu Kyi, which was a legitimate government, and then after this, the ceasefire agreement was broken down, and since then a civil war like situation has erupted in Myanmar, where Arakan Army is one of the rebel groups as such. Now, what is the argument that the Bangladeshi think tank has given in its favor? Because first of all, they have stated that why unauthorized movement is happening across the Myanmar-Bangladesh border. The reason is there is absence of military quarantine. That means along the Bangladesh-Myanmar border, military groups, or what you can call as the border guards, are not deployed, that defies the standard border protection protocol. Second, many decisions that is taken by the interim government is without the parliamentary oversight, and it has bypassed all the democratic mechanisms that largely is followed by Bangladesh, especially if the decision is taken in the area of foreign and security policy. This also sets a dangerous precedent, especially such kind of major decisions is being taken by the Muhammad Yunus led government, even when the election date is not being announced. So much time and so many months have passed, election still has not been held in the Bangladesh. So currently the government is not democratically elected, and that is why parliamentary oversight over such major decisions are missing, and that also basically raises a concern here. Third, also they have discussed that even if they are able to create a humanitarian or aid corridor, it will not be managed well. So a poorly managed corridor may become a conduit for narcotics and arms smuggling. As we know that one of the major reasons why this corridor is being created to help Arakan Army in a logistic manner, or in the what you can call as over the logistical issues. But if it is not properly managed, it can also cause the narco trafficking and the weapons and arms trafficking through the same areas as such, and that will amplify the security threats that anyway Bangladesh is facing from the Myanmar to the well-established trafficking route. Now here, interestingly, you should know that the Myanmar, when you talk about Myanmar, is a part of what you refer as a golden triangle. So golden triangle consists of three countries in the South Asia, that is Myanmar, Laos and Thailand. Southeast Asia, we should say more precisely. And the Myanmar, Laos and Thailand, these countries form a kind of triangle like shape, and this triangle that is referred as golden triangle is one of the major hub of the drug trafficking, drug production, and this is also a place from where India and the northeastern state of India are where drug trafficking is observed. So obviously it raises the concern in the Indian establishment as well, because again, if you talk about the entire area, we can see that here you have the Myanmar, then this is the Bangladesh, the Cox Bazar region that we have discussed about, and then further connected to Myanmar you have the state of Mizoram as such, with the capital being Ajwal. So there is a clear cut possibility that through this particular border there are already 6 established corridors through which narcotic substances are being transshipped in the India as such. So if this border become more porous in nature, if this border areas, especially along Bangladesh, also become porous in nature, not well regulated, then the risk of drug trafficking and the intensity of drug trafficking, and along with the human trafficking, wildlife trafficking, can also see a further uptick that will create a further challenge for the Indian security forces in managing the northeastern region. We know that northeastern region is already infested with insurgency. There are many insurgent groups that are operating continuously for many decades in the northeastern region, and one of the major sources of revenue for them is the drug trafficking, and drug is being supplied by Myanmar. So any changes along the Myanmar border will obviously risk such kind of what I can say it increases the risk in these areas in the Indian side of the border also. Now in the conclusion, what we can say that BIPSS has stated that without pulling punches, the policy brief clearly has hold that Bangladesh's interim government decision to establish a humanitarian corridor into the Rakhine as having been made under undisclosed condition. That means there is a lack of transparency, there has been a lack of proper communication by the government to the civil society or the people in general. It lacks transparency and public accountability. Why it lacks public accountability? Because as we have discussed, currently Bangladesh is being run by undemocratic government which has not been elected by the election, which has not been elected after the election, and that is why they do not have any kind of parliamentary or public accountability as such. So this risk and further increases the risk in the Bangladesh as such. That is all about this particular video. If you like the video, please hit like button, share it with your aspirants, and subscribe to our channel for more such helpful content. Thank you very much.